Hello, everyone. I'm Corin Davis. Welcome to a special edition of The Rundown. I got to sit down last week with our athletic director here at WT, Mr. Michael McBroom, and he talked everything from the new NCAA president to the future of WT athletics and Division II athletics. He also answered a very, very big question that's been the topic of a lot of conversations. Will WT make the jump to Division I? He answers that question in this interview. Take a look. Well, first of all, thank you for being here with us today. How are you feeling about having completed a very successful season of WT athletics?
I feel really good. The grades, I'm probably the most proud of the grades. We set a record in GPA, record in graduation rates, which, that's why our athletes are here, right? To get a degree. So those things are good, but to do that, have those successes at the same time for the 10th consecutive year being one of the top regional public institutions in Division II, and by one of the top five. I'm pretty proud of that because it's so hard, as you know, to win on a consistent basis and to do it as we've been doing for a decade now is pretty remarkable. I think I'm most proud of the consistency and the fact we're doing it with students who are going to class, getting good grades, and graduating.
There have been several new factors that have surfaced in the realm of college athletics over the past few years that I feel have really changed the game when it comes to recruiting and just the overall college athlete experience. You've got the transfer portal, you've got name, image, and likeness, also known as NIL deals. I first want to touch on the transfer portal and what your thoughts are on that and how it has impacted WT.
Yeah, those are... Obviously, you're dialed in. College athletics is in the news almost every day because of these changes. The transfer portal, I think, was probably the easiest one for us. It doesn't mean I'm in favor of it, but the transfer portal allows student athletes to have freedom of movement, which I think is fine. Used to, there was if you transferred, you had to sit a year. Those rules were in place really to protect athletes and the institution, mostly athletes from the academic standpoint. So those restrictions have gone away, but for regional public institutions like WT, retention rates have always been important. So the transfer portal has really forced institutions to say, hey, we've got to, not only do we recruit athletes to our campus, but we have to continue to recruit and retain them. That's not a far stretch for regional publics like ours, because one of the things that you have to do as a regional public is figure out ways to retain students. So how do you retain students? You get them tied into something. Athletics does that. You get them the experience that they're getting for, most of them are paying for their school. The experience they're getting is important. The engagement aspect in a brand new community. Many of our students, as you know, are first generation college students. So to get that acclimation with college, that's something that regional publics have been doing. WT, I think, has done a pretty good job of it. Our athletic program has done a terrific job. So with the transfer portal, there is more pressure on our colleagues and peers and competition to do a better job of retaining. For a place like us that has a history of winning, graduating athletes, and where we have athletes that we've seen move on to the Division I level to try their talents at a higher level of competition, the transfer portal, I think, is actually a benefit for us. We can not only attract high caliber student athletes who also have to get grades, because you can't transfer if you don't get the grades. We become a destination, so I have a saying with our coaches. For every one athlete that may have an opportunity to go on to Division I and try a different level, we should have 5 or 10 just as good coming in.
I also have to touch on NIL deals, which are so prevalent now. You see them in the news, you see it on social media, you read about it. I mean, college athletes are walking away with millions and millions of dollars in their pocket, even before having walked across the stage and graduated.
Right.
What is your take on that, and where do WT student athletes fit into that picture?
Yeah, this is so... this all came about starting 2 or 3 years ago, and we've intentionally kind of just been slow playing it to see how things play out. I, for one, I have no problem with a student athlete being able to earn fair market value for their name, image, and likeness. That's part of the deal, right? But the part of that seems to be lost is the fair market value. I think the state of Texas did a tremendous job with their state legislation. It protects and provides opportunities for student athletes, also protects the institutions. I think those things have to be in place, and Texas did a really nice job with the state law that over NIL. What I don't understand, I do believe that it's wrong and not in the spirit of what was intended, are the consortiums at the higher Division I levels where you hear the $1 million deals. Mm-hmm. That's certainly not us. Mm-hmm. But this is a space that we have slowly started to get into. We have had athletes on our campus go out and secure their own deals and run through. We may have 10 or 12 on their own deals now, and they are fair market deals that because they're an athlete, they've been able to go and talk to local businesses and get compensation for post on social media or whatever it may be. We have a couple of different ones, but I think that coming in this next year, this is a space we're going to get more aggressive in on behalf of our athletes. We understand it better. We've seen where the market has shifted. I do think it's a time that for us to get more involved in the space and work with our local businesses who are interested in having our athletes be spokespeople for their companies, and for our athletes to be able to earn that fair market compensation. And so we're looking at a couple of different models right now. Mm-hmm. I expect we will roll something out this 23-24 academic year, and we will grow. Yeah.
You recently interacted with the new president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker. What is your impression on him and the work he's done so far?
So a very interesting hire. When I didn't know anything about him, governor of Massachusetts, mm-hmm. and then I've learned previously before that led some healthcare companies, which he made mention that not too dissimilar to the NCAA and like all these myriad of different groups and agencies and committees and from the healthcare side, same as being a public official. I thought it was an interesting hire from the standpoint with all of the federal issues going on with the NCAA right now, and I believe also now that I've met him and watched him work for a few months, a very smart hire. We had the opportunity a few weeks ago, the Lone Star Conference presidents and athletic directors, to have an hour with Mr. Baker to what I thought would be listening to him. Mm-hmm. He listened to us, and he listened. Took notes, asked a lot of good questions, circled back. I saw him last week in Washington, D.C. with the volleyball team. And so I think he's the right person for the challenges, the large challenges that face the NCAA right now, and working with congressmen to get this NIL thing under wraps, to get everything kind of consolidated. I think that from our standpoint at West Texas, he had children that played Division II, Division III, I believe. So he understands the different levels and embraces the differences in those levels, and that they're all unique and good in their own manner. That's a departure from the past 10 years where I felt that Division II and Division III were almost overlooked, and everything was focused on Division I. So I am hopeful that Division II will take more of a priority, because I think it's a great space to be in. Mm-hmm. But I also think that Charlie Baker has a chance to really kind of clean up some of the stuff in college athletics that have been messed up over the last 10 years through no fault of any one individual. It's just the nature of the business. the changes that have happened so quickly and have gotten out of control. And I think he has a chance to help rein things in for the benefit of college athletics as a whole.
Hypothetically, if you were in the shoes of Mr. Baker, you woke up tomorrow and you're the new president of the NCAA.
Right.
What change would you make?
That's a good question. So I'm going to leave the national stuff, the NIL stuff, and I'm going to leave that up to him, and the employee stuff, and because that's a higher level. But the one thing that has frustrated a lot of us in Division II is the nomenclature needs to change. Everybody thinks that Division II is somehow inferior to Division I, and Division III is inferior to Division II, and so on. It's not that at all. It's every one of these divisions is a perfect fit for the variety of higher education institutions out there, and to have the nomenclature of move up, move down. That's not right to me. Maybe you're gonna reclassify as a term that's used, but even our fans and media talk about moving up, moving down. I still get questions: are we going to move back up to Division I? No. So one of the things I would change is I would give autonomy to Division I, autonomy to Division II, autonomy to Division III. Let them rename, rebrand, however. Division II, it feels to me, as all of us have been, we react to whatever happens in Division I. That's ridiculous. If Division II doesn't want a transfer portal, Division II should say, we're not going to have a transfer portal, or we're going to keep if you're going to transfer, you have to sit a year. And allow the divisions to do their own thing. Some of it, we do get some funding from the Division I men's basketball tournament. Some of those funds do trickle down to 2 and 3 to fund things like championships. I'm a marketing guy. I'm a revenue guy. If you were to say, I've got 300 schools that compete in Division II with 120,000 athletes across the country, and allow me to go out and sell that independent of what Division I has, I think there's more revenue in it for Division II and Division III to self-sustain those operations and do their own thing. But it doesn't seem like anybody in Indianapolis is thinking that way. And so I would change. I would give the autonomy to hey, we don't have to all just follow in what Division I is doing. I would rebrand it, go autonomous, and allow and start to think from the standpoint of you have three separate entities, much like if you were a corporation, you have 3 different companies, and let them stand on their own 2 feet. I think that's probably the one thing I would do if I could do it in one day.
I don't know about you guys, but that interview was very insightful, and he answered a lot of questions that I had. Mr. McBroom has played a pivotal role in the growth and success of the athletic departments here at WT, and I know he's going to continue to do so. Switching subjects for a second, I know this is music to the ears of volleyball lovers, football lovers, soccer, golf, cross country. Our fall sports are creeping up on us, and they will be here before we know it. I want to touch on football for a second. We will have an interview with Josh Lynn, head football coach here at WT. And it will cover everything from two-a-days to what season will look like. So be on the lookout for that. But that wraps up this week's episode. You know the drill. If you haven't already, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at WT The Rundown. Tell a friend and then tell a friend to tell a friend about us. If you're watching us on YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. That's all for this week's episode. We will see you next time. I'm Corinne Davis, and you're watching The Rundown.